Hey everybody, welcome to the Wwe Slam. I'm very excited to be here. Adjust my mic, I hope I'm not too loud here. This is going to be a fun show because we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw. We're going to talk about the upcoming pay-per-view of Extreme Rules, and we're actually going to dive into how Roman Reigns could likely really this time, lose the Undisputed Championship in short order. So let's dive into it here. First of all, thank you for joining me here on the DuPont Network. I'm very excited to be here every single week, Saturday, at 8 p.m. And we have Monday Night Raw that we're really going to dive into here. And it was a Raw that's centered around Dominic Mysterio, as it should. Dominic had a really nice and overdue heel turn just a week or two ago. And right now he has Rhea Ripley figuratively and literally in his ear, feeding him poison, feeding him lies, right? Turning him against his father. And it was a Raw that was main evented by Edge taking on Dominic Mysterio in a match that I thought was pretty good. I mean, Dominic Mysterio has never been, the issue with Dominic has never been in ring. Ever. It's always been personality. It's always been he can't cut a promo. It's been that he has no character. You just want to shake him and be like, dude, there's got to be somebody in there. And this week, we finally got an explanation from Dominic Mysterio. We finally got an explanation from him. It was done in a way that was smart, because what WWE did was put him backstage in a pre-taped interview with a spotlight on him, darkness surrounding him, zoomed in camera, and having him just explain that he's tired of standing in the shadow of his father, that he's a man now. I think the best line of that was when he said that for such a small man, you cast a large shadow. And that was great. I loved it. Rhea Ripley whispering in his ear, symbolically just poisoning his mind. It was just really well done. It was a nice explanation. He did this little sneer that I think was a little bit overdone. But it was something that I think was effective. And it showed you what WWE is going to do to help protect him a little bit in promos. And I have no problem with that. I think the promos with Dominic can't be in front of a live crowd right now, especially ones that are this important. You can have follow-up smaller promos, but for the large, really important staple promos, especially after you turn heel, you gotta just protect the guy. And they did this very nicely, and I thought it was very effective. And then Dominic again taking on Edge was we'll get to that a little bit later, but that was a good matchup. And throughout the show, we saw Dominic backstage and Rey Mysterio trying to talk to his son, and his son just still won't look at him or acknowledge him at all. He won't have any dialogue with his father. That is also kind of telling that he's in some kind of brainwashed trance because of the Judgment Day. And do I think this is going to lead to a Dominic-Rey Mysterio matchup? Yes, I do. I think it's going to happen at WrestleMania 39. They're playing the long game here with the proclamation from Rey Mysterio last week that he said, I'm not going to ever put my hands on my son. Well, I think that's going to break down as time goes on, as Dominic continues to do just despicable things, maybe things against his own family, perhaps, maybe things just that are just downright evil or just could be career ending. He's trying to maybe snap the neck of Edge, or maybe he threatens his own family, threatens the wife of Rey Mysterio, his mom. Things like that. It's going to get more and more extreme because they have time and a lot of time to build this. So the short of it is, right now, it's a great storyline. I have no problems with this, and I have been the number one advocate of Dominic turning heel because I knew there was more to him other than just this kind of unimaginative, superficial, one-dimensional son of Rey Mysterio that's good in the ring, and that's it. I mean, that's all he had going for him, is just his last name, and that he's good in the ring. Like, that's really it. So this past week, they did a nice job of making Rey Mysterio and Dom split even further. So, all right. Well, let's just talk about the Edge and Dominic main event. Again, a good match, and a match that had an objective, had a goal. And that goal was to continue to put heat on the Judgment Day and continue to put heat on Dominic Mysterio. And they did that. They did that nicely. And it's something that WWE, over the last several years, maybe longer, has gotten away from. It's almost like this philosophy, this belief that you always have to make sure the crowd goes home happy. And I think that WWE has forgotten the value of anger from fans. The value of anger is so important because what it does, it may leave the crowd at home and especially in the audience really angry because they feel they get to see the babyface go over every time. And I don't think that that's something you want to condition your audience to think you get. Because guess what it does? It keeps people coming back. It keeps the audience tuned in. It keeps people wanting to see that heel get demolished and get their ass kicked. That's what you want. That's the payoff. And we didn't get it. And this is the second week in a row that the Judgment Day has stood tall, that they've tried to injure Edge, or maybe they successfully did this time. And, you know, for the live crowd, yeah, you may be really pissed off. But here's one thing that you forget. After the show goes off the air, there's a dark match that usually takes place in which 99.9999% of the time, it's meant to just make the crowd happy. And a babyface will come out and maybe they'll have an impromptu match or just do things, maybe hit a finish on a heel, something like that. Like, there are things that you can do to make sure, if you want to keep that philosophy going, that the crowd has a lasting impression of happiness, that feeling of happiness. But I don't think it's something that needs to be done all the time when Raw is going off the air. And like a lot of times, WWE just forgot about the value of anger and made sure that they put smiles on people's faces before they went home. But it was at the expense of really being able to build heat and getting the fans angry and wanting to come back. So, all right, well, I'm beating a dead horse here, but okay, let's take a quick break because on the other side, we've got to talk about Finn Balor and Matt Riddle. We've got to talk about probably the segment of the night for me, and that's Mr. Kevin Owens coming out and cutting a career-defining promo against Austin Theory. So we're going to talk about that and much more right after this. Welcome back to the WWE Slam, everyone, and let's dive in a little bit more to Monday Night Raw. We saw Finn Balor take on Matt Riddle after, he beat Matt Riddle after a coup de grace. Riddle interrupted a Seth Rollins promo to open the show. We'll talk about that. I know I'm kind of going in reverse a little bit, but after they brawled, after Rollins and Riddle brawled, the Judgment Day comes out and offers Riddle a chance to join the group. He refuses, obviously, but this angered Damian Priest and Balor, which led to this matchup. And Priest was run out of the ringside area by Rey Mysterio during the match, but Rollins interfered and set up Riddle to take the loss. After the match, Rollins attacked Riddle, hitting him with a stomp to lay him out. So, this matchup was fine. You know, having Finn Balor beat Matt Riddle was fine. I think that having the Judgment Day continue to gain more heat and more steam and more momentum was more important than Matt Riddle getting a victory that really wouldn't have done a whole lot. So that was fine here. And also it set up Rollins to come back and attack Riddle. This is undoubtedly leading to a matchup with Riddle and Rollins at Extreme Rules, probably for the final time. Now, this promo that Seth cut at the very beginning of Raw, he opened Raw, was important because it shows that Seth is still trying to make that proclamation that he is going to go after the Universal Championship, the Undisputed Championship. And every time he does, he gets cut off by Riddle or someone else. And I think that comes to an end after Extreme Rules. I think the Monday Night Raw after Extreme Rules, you are going to see Seth Rollins finally say that I'm done with Riddle, I'm done with everything else, there's no more hurdles in my way, I am full steam ahead going for the undisputed Universal WWE Championship. And that would put Roman Reigns on notice. I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I think you're going to have Rollins versus Roman Reigns at Survivor Series in November. I think Roman Reigns is taking Extreme Rules off, and they're going to have Rollins and Roman Reigns at Extreme Rules. And it makes a lot of sense, too, because, well, number one, Seth Rollins hasn't had a championship in, it feels like, years. It feels like him and Kevin Owens are on the same timeline with championships. It's almost criminal that those two haven't been singles champions in years, literally years. And having Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns also makes sense because the second reason, he's believable to beat Roman Reigns. He's still a relatively young guy. This could still help launch his career. He does need a little bit of assistance right now in terms of where he could be. I feel like he's still not, WWE hasn't maximized where he could be, and him being champion is going to be a lot of fun if it happens. And also, Seth Rollins should be trying to get revenge after what happened last year at Survivor Series that everyone's forgotten about. If you've forgotten about it, if you remember, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns actually was a matchup last year that ended with Roman Reigns brutally, viciously beating Seth Rollins down that was never followed up on. And I think you'll see that follow-up with Rollins on the promo that will come likely Monday Night Raw after the Extreme Rules event when he's finally done with Riddle. So that's what I think is going to happen. Now, do I think Rollins is actually going to beat Roman Reigns for the championship? I'd say there's a very, very good chance. And here's why. Again, Rollins is believable to beat him. He's one of the few guys on the roster that hasn't challenged him for the championship yet. And I think that would help out Rollins' career a lot. I mean, I really do. Not that Rollins isn't already a made guy, but he's young enough where he's still in the prime of his career and he could use this as kind of a turning point for his career. And right now, Roman Reigns is a guy that is already a made man. We've gone through this. You've probably heard other podcasts that have gone through this. He's a made man. He doesn't need this anymore. Fans are just flat out just tired of this product from the championship perspective. Now, Triple H has done a great job with a lot of other areas, but with this particular area, it's gotten to a point where it's not just about Roman Reigns' run and probably their goal of getting to 1,000 days anymore. The goal for them should be to make sure that they're putting the best product out there. And at this point, they are, I think, capping themselves because what they've done is just hijacked the championship, merged the two championships into one, and then took the guy holding that one and put him on like every 5 shows, every other pay-per-view. Like they've really done the worst thing you could possibly do with that championship. And it's not just about the heat on Roman. It's not just about making sure that Roman Reigns is a made man from this run. He already is. There's not much more you could do. It's the law of diminishing returns at this point for Roman Reigns. So I think what they should have done is just split the belts, give a championship to Raw, and keep the Universal on him, and then they can get to the 1,000 days. But the biggest thing is they're actually effing with guys' careers at this point because there's a lot you could do with that championship on Raw. If you just bring the WWE Championship back, keep the Universal on Roman, have a field day, knock yourself out, and you can have Rollins compete for the championship. You could have Kevin Owens compete for the championship. Hell, Theory could compete for the championship. It's just so limited with Roman Reigns as champion. It's not fun. It's not fun anymore. And if they're going with Rock Roman, that's fine. Just keep the championship out of the conversation. We don't want the championship involved in the Rock Roman, hopefully Rock Roman story that's coming late this year into early next year. Hopefully. I didn't say it's confirmed, but how can you not put this on WrestleMania 39? To me, it's never, now or never. But to have that program with Rock Roman for the championship, I understand the temptation to do that because it would make it feel like a bigger match. And Rock is the one who's finally going to come in and he's going to take that away from Roman as the true head of the table, true head of the family. I understand the temptation of all that. It is alluring on many levels. But when you think about what The Rock is right now, he's a Hollywood megastar. He's essentially the face of Hollywood. He's not going to be here for a long period of time. He's there for like a one-off, you know? And for him to be the one to take the belt off Roman, yeah, it's poetic and there's a great family storyline there, but it doesn't make a lot of sense from a long-term perspective of this was all building to The Rock being the one to take it off Roman. Okay, well, The Rock doesn't need it. I don't think they would do it anyway. And it also spoils the outcome of the match because you know The Rock's not going to win the belt, right? So even if they were planning on The Rock winning or planning on The Rock losing it, it's a lose-lose if the championship is involved in the situation. And it also takes away another guy's potential spot in the main event of WrestleMania for The Rock to take it. I mean, I'm good with Rock Roman. Just keep the belt out of it. So, anyway, let's take a quick break. I promise I'm going to get more to Monday Night Raw. I went on a bit of a tangent there. There's a lot more with Monday Night Raw. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the WWE Slam here. One quick plug for my podcast, the actual audio podcast I do. It's a WWE podcast. You guys can follow me anywhere podcasts are available. And if you want an ad-free experience, Patreon has $1 a month option for ad-free everything. Because I know ads sometimes can be a bit of a pain when you're listening to audio. And so that's an option for you if you're interested. Patreon.com/WWE podcast. So let's dive into Monday Night Raw a little bit more. Again, anytime I talk about Roman Reigns, I feel angry, but I also feel appreciative of what they've done with Roman. I'm also impatient. I'm over it. It's a very mixed bag of emotions because what they did was really impressive with Roman, but it's gone way beyond what anybody wants to see anymore. And it's not heat on Roman anymore. It's heat on the company. It's heat on the company for continuing this story. And with Triple H at the helm, I thought for sure he's like, okay, guys, like I hear you. Let's move on from Roman. They haven't done that yet. So Triple H obviously feels that there is something bigger in the works. I just don't even know what that payoff could be, where at the end of all of this, we all sit collectively as a fan base and go, oh, wow, we were so wrong, Triple H. We were so wrong, WWE. We're so sorry for getting so angry about this. You guys know what we want better than we do, and we're so fickle. And great payoff. What a great... I have a very, very sneaking suspicion, a very, very subtle one, that it ain't going to happen that way, right? When Roman drops the belt, people are just going to collectively sigh. Like, if you open your window and when Roman drops the belt, when that 3 count hits, whenever that is, Survivor Series, whatever, you will collectively probably hear a faint sigh from fans. I mean, you might be able to hear it in the distance. It's going to be an audible sigh of just relief and finally, can we move the hell on? And I think we're going to get that probably between now and WrestleMania, if not at WrestleMania. But do I dare say beyond? Because 1,000 days would take them beyond WrestleMania, but we're not going to get into that nightmare. Okay, so what else happened on Monday Night Raw? Well, some big stuff here. The Women's Tag Team Championship changed hands. Dakota Kai and Io Sky took out Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah. They won the Tag Team Championships. The Damage Control, as they're now known. Bayley's group finally has a name. It took them about a month, but they got a nice name. I like Damage Control. And they were able to isolate Aaliyah down the stretch, and they got a little bit of help from Bayley that allowed Dakota Kai to pin Aaliyah with kind of a backbreaker type thing. And Aaliyah took the pinfall and captured the belt. So I like this. I think that this there's no problem with this for me. Bayley's group needed a bit of a boost. I feel like they were waning a little bit since SummerSlam, and they got a nice boost here with gold. And what was also a nice touch that not a lot of people are talking about, the fireworks that went off after they won, that vision of it usually is only reserved for like Roman Reigns at the end of every pay-per-view for the last 24 months. But this was a nice touch. Outside of the fireworks going off at the beginning of Raw or entrances, you don't see this for championship wins on Raw. You never see it, and it was a nice touch. Just a nice touch from a production standpoint of, this means something, right? And it was just a cool moment, just with fireworks. I know that sounds superficial, but that was a nice moment. And I also think that, again, this group needs gold, and they got it. Now, what's important here is that every time a group, or rather a tag team in the women's division, or really any division, especially tag teams for men and women, when they lose a championship or lose a championship match, you don't just immediately break them up, because then you are taking away the depth of that division, specifically tag team divisions on the men and women's. So I don't want to see Aaliyah and Raquel Rodriguez split. If you want a true tag team division, you need to keep them together, and I think they will. There was no sign of them getting angry with each other or whatever, but that's what I want. I just want a tag team division that is not so just flimsy, where everybody gets mad at everybody for everything, and then all of a sudden you're back to last year where there was a tag team champion. You had tag team champions, but nobody for them to compete for. With. There was literally nobody. You just had a tag team champion, and they were essentially uncontested. It was ridiculous. So no problem here. I think the match quality was good. Nothing to write home about, but nice win here for the Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Johnny Gargano, or Gargano, depending on your pronunciation, took out Chad Gable. And by the way, when's the last time Chad Gable won anything? He's the butt of every joke now. And yes, he's getting TV time, and he's entertaining and all that. But the credentials of this guy from an actual amateur standpoint are impressive. And they continue to just make him this easy-to-beat heel that's a feel-good moment that every babyface is going to overcome. I think there's more they could do with Chad Gable and Otis specifically too. But this matchup, how can you have a bad matchup with Johnny Wrestling and Chad Gable? You're not gonna. He beat him with a slingshot DDT. And after the match, with Otis there, he's going to attack Gargano. He ate a super kick before Gargano rolled out of the ring for the escape. And then Gargano left up the ramp. Austin Theory then attacked Gargano from behind and then hit Gargano with the briefcase. Took the briefcase and clocked Johnny Gargano with it. So we got a Austin Theory attack. And Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory, you talk about the future of this company and youth and just awesome matches that are coming. These two embody that. And this wasn't the first time we'd see Austin Theory at that particular night on Monday Night Raw. So I'm going to talk about that after the break. But one more thing I want to talk about before we get there. Omos taking out Kashi Marazi and Ryan Toombs. I think just basically local wrestling talent. He beat both of them with a choke bomb. Omos is going back to where they started with him. I was hopeful that after WrestleMania they would do more with him after his match with Bobby Lashley, but they haven't. They've essentially brought him back to his roots of being this guy that's a monster, that's waiting in the wings for a real competitor, and is just doing squash matches. So I don't hate it, but I thought that they had kind of moved out of this. It's very rare that you see somebody like this that goes from squash matches for several months to an actual program back to squash matches. It tells you that they just don't have much for him right now. I would imagine they're grooming him at some point for a Omos and who just returned? I can't think of his name. Braun Strowman. Omos and Braun Strowman match. That could be a train wreck of a match, but I also think it could be very entertaining. So I think they're grooming Omos, or at least looking ahead to that. Maybe it's a WrestleMania match for those two, or at least Rumble, or not Rumble, because they'll probably both be in the Rumble. But a match in the next 6 months is probably what they're looking at with Omos and Braun Strowman. But all right, so after the break, guys, we're going to get into Kevin Owens and what I thought was a career-defining promo. So stay right here. All right, everybody, let's get to what I thought was the segment of the night and a career-defining promo for Kevin Owens. Theory comes out, didn't even get basically a word out. Kevin Owens interrupts, and things got real quick with Theory and Kevin Owens. And it was something that really is, I'm sure, nothing that would have gotten past Vince McMahon if he still were in charge. I think that it was definitely at least came off the cuff. It felt like something that Kevin Owens came up with organically and Triple H gave the nod for. I think that it was heartfelt. I think there was a lot of real into what he said. And so let's get into what he said. To me, the most impactful part of the entire promo, and there was a lot of things you could break down, but for me, the one thing that sticks out in my mind as he's looking at Austin Theory and trying to give him advice, trying to give him essentially a cheat code, a cheat sheet into how to be successful in this industry, this business. But the most impactful part of this was when he said, I've seen hundreds of guys like you that look like you come and go. Guys that get pushed. I don't know if he said pushed, but they get elevated and then they fizzle out. And he's seen hundreds of them come and go while guys that look like me don't stick around, much less become the face of the company. Now, Kevin Owens isn't the face of the company, but he's much more face of the company if you were going to compare him to Theory. Absolutely. So this was impactful to me because it's something I didn't really think about, at least not consciously. You know, maybe it's just kind of like a passing thought that I had about it. And guys that look like Austin Theory, that look like $1 million, guys that look like, Theory probably hasn't eaten a carb since 2012. And he has done such a great job physically. And really on the mic, Theory is way ahead. He's years ahead of where he should be on the microphone. So all of that is true. And Theory has done an excellent job. I'm really, really big on Theory, Austin Theory. He's found his first name again. I think that he is a future world champion, no doubt about it. He very well may cash in at some point and win with that briefcase he has now. We don't know. But the fact is that guys that look like Austin Theory are a dime a dozen. Because they look like $1 million, but they often don't have the personality. They don't have the actual drive. They don't like being away from their families and all that, which is all valid. But this is a lifestyle that is brutal. It's not for most people. And for Austin Theory and guys that look like Austin Theory, how many people have we seen come and go? If you're a wrestling fan, he's got the stereotypical Vince McMahon desirable body, that look. But to be honest, is it something that Kevin Owens was lying about? No. Kevin Owens really rocked this promo, and he's quickly becoming a massive babyface on Monday Night Raw, which just a few months ago, facing Stone Cold Steve Austin in the main event of WrestleMania Night 1, was one of the biggest heels that the company had. So Kevin Owens is just so likable and just can't help himself but be likable. And so let me go into some of the notes here. I'm reading from CBS Sports to make sure I didn't miss any of the big points, but he demanded, Owens cut a scathing promo on Theory, demanding he do more than live off of opportunities that has been handed to him. Instead, make his own opportunities, show up at work every day, check his ego at the door, and prove he's the man he claims to be. They got into a brawl, and that left Theory with apparently a broken nose. It was real. It wasn't any kind of work. It might have been a busted lip. It could have been a nose. I think there was blood coming from his nose. He said that breaking Theory's nose was, quote, just the beginning. So Owens and Theory are getting into it here in a match I didn't know I wanted. Excuse me. It's a match I didn't know, and he didn't know, and we didn't know that he wanted, and we wanted. So Austin Theory right now is involved with Kevin Owens, and he's also involved with Johnny Gargano. So I don't know what this is going to come to. It's kind of a weird triangular, like a program. Now, Gargano is not involved with Owens, but Theory is. So I don't know what's going to happen here. Could it be that there's a triple threat at Extreme Rules? I guess, but for what? That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to me. In my mind, it's probably Austin Theory and Kevin Owens who face off at Extreme Rules. I think that is the more money matchup, because as great of a wrestler as Gargano is, he's not the level in terms of star power, name value, and brand value that Kevin Owens is. But it's just interesting that Theory is involved in two different things right now. It's just I don't hate it. I just don't know what to think of it. And really three things when you think about the fact that he's the Mr. Money in the Bank. And being Mr. Money in the Bank, you're always in the conversation to capture the championship because you hold the briefcase. So I think Kevin Owens right now, though, is on fire. Kevin Owens is just absolutely a shining light on Monday Night Raw. Kevin Owens is a guy that when you hear his music hit, you know you're getting a great promo. You know it's going to be entertaining. You know whatever he's going to do in the ring is going to be, outstanding. And he's doing all of this while not looking like what Vince McMahon wants. Now, Vince isn't in the company anymore, and, that's kind of under a water under the bridge. But the fact that Kevin Owens hasn't held a singles championship in WWE in 5 years is downright criminal. And I think that's going to change sooner than later. What I actually think is going to happen, and I'm not sure if I said this last week on the show, I think what you're going to see is Sami Zayn break down and start to crumble under the pressure of being involved in the bloodline. Maybe he'll screw up something, the bloodline will reprimand him, and Kevin Owens will start to whisper in his ear a little bit more, as he did last week or the week before. And eventually, I think what's going to happen is we're going to have a babyface Sami Zayn and a babyface Kevin Owens tag team challenging the Usos for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships, and they will be the ones to take the belts off of the Usos. That's what I think is going to happen. I think the Usos are destined to drop them to Sami and Kevin, who are just so fun and entertaining together. I mean, they need to put them together as soon as possible. And I know that I'm a big fan on slow burn and all that, but Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn together, whether they're against each other or with each other, are just so much fun to watch. And yes, they are best friends in real life, but I really think that translates nicely when the camera turns on. So I just think that this is a storyline waiting to happen, and I do believe the Usos will drop the belts to Kevin and Sami. Now, we're several steps away from that. It may not happen until the end of the year or early next year, but we're on the path to that. So, all right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Dexter Lumis. We're going to talk a little bit more about Extreme Rules and some other stuff. So stay right here. Welcome back to the WWE Slam. So we have Dexter Lumis, who on Monday night was shown inside The Miz's house after Miz ended an interview. He kicked out the WWE crew. Dexter Lumis continuing to stalk and attack The Miz with no explanation. But if you followed him in NXT, you know we're probably not going to get an explanation. That's just his MO. He's got a great look. He's good in the ring. And boy, does he have a perfectly memeable face. And that's a credit to him. But I don't see this having a long, drawn-out, really deep explanation as to why Dexter Lumis is doing what he's doing. So those that are hoping for it ain't going to get it. I hate to say. But Dexter Lumis and The Miz, it's fun. I don't have anything negative to say about it. It's just kind of like, it's a filler program. Even though Dexter Lumis is a guy that I think has a lot more positive days in terms of main event potential ahead of him. And I think they're just kind of introducing him to the main audience while he's just feuding with The Miz and getting people to learn who and what he is, even if he doesn't talk a lot. And he's not going to talk a lot. But, okay, so next week on Monday Night Raw, we have, let's see, we have an a United States Championship match with Rollins and Bobby Lashley. Now, Bobby Lashley also showed up on Monday night, and he looked weird. Like, Bobby Lashley just looked strange. And it's because he had on, like, a more formal outfit, and he had glasses. It doesn't fit with me. Something about Bobby Lashley in glasses is just not right. It just seems like it's some kind of sin against humanity with Bobby Lashley in glasses. It's almost like he was doing some kind of stage play and he forgot to take off his costume. Like, that's what it looked like to me. Some kind of, he just did like community theater down the street. He's playing like a librarian or he's playing Harry Potter or something, and he just forgot to take his costume off. It doesn't look right. I know that maybe they're trying to give him a different look. Just even small things. Just, I don't know. I had to laugh. What did you guys do? Did you guys laugh at this? I don't know. But nonetheless, next week we get a United States Championship match with Rollins and Lashley. And the one thing about this I have to say is that while I'm excited for the match, the outcome of this is all but predictable. And you know what? That's okay. I'm not complaining about predictability if it's the right thing. But how can we not see Riddle interfering in this, costing Rollins the matchup? I mean, that's obviously where they're going, and that's fine because you want to get to Rollins and Riddle for the final time at Extreme Rules, and that's fine with me. But the outcome is pretty much a foregone conclusion. Not only because Riddle is involved with Rollins, and it's going to be payback for what Rollins did to Riddle this week, but look, Bobby Lashley has been a good United States champion, and I don't think they're ready to have him drop the belt yet. I'm not ready for it. So I think that we're going to have a much, that we're probably just the beginning stages of his career in terms of the United States Championship run for this time, and I think that we're going to have Bobby Lashley at least hold that championship probably through the end of the year. Once we get to January, February, things may change, in my opinion, may change. But right now, I think around the shoulders of Lashley is a good place for that United States Championship. And to be honest, like Lashley's kind of fallen off the radar. WWE did a nice little video package for the United States Championship, bringing back what it means to be United States Champion. But I don't know. Lashley's just kind of felt lost in the sauce for a while. So next week also, we have Kevin Owens taking on Austin Theory. That was announced via WWE's Twitter feed that those two are going to face each other next week on Monday Night Raw, and I'm excited for it. I think that you're going to have, some kind of big outcome for this. I mean, in terms of, well, I shouldn't say big outcome. I should say a leading outcome. Meaning they're probably going to make this a lead into Extreme Rules. Now, you could have Johnny Gargano possibly interfere in this, making it some kind of triple threat, and maybe the only way a triple threat happens is if the Money in the Bank briefcase is on the line. If the Money in the Bank briefcase is on the line, then you have my attention, because then Kevin Owens could win that match and Austin Theory does not have the briefcase anymore. So, I mean, I think that that's a fun thing with Kevin Owens as the Mr. Money in the Bank. But as I spoke about earlier in the show, him and Sami Zayn capturing the SmackDown or the Unified Tag Team Championships is also a lot of fun. So right now, I mean, the moral of the story is Kevin Owens is on a career path that we haven't seen him on in quite some time. One that's exciting, one that has many different possibilities, one that you can look forward to every week, him coming out and just cutting an awesome promo, whether it's Drew McIntyre or Theory. So right now, I think Kevin Owens is in an awesome place. Kevin Owens is in a place he hasn't been in his career in quite some time, if not ever. And I think a lot of that, I know a lot of that has to do with Triple H, who is right now in the corner, big time fighting for Kevin Owens here. And Kevin Owens is going to have to go out and execute. There's no doubt about it. But we all know that he can. And he's such a likable dude that he's like somebody that you would want to hang out with. He seems like one of those friends that you just find funny. He's entertaining. He's, all that. He just seems like a fun time. He's like a guy you want to grab a beer with. But Austin Theory and Kevin Owens next week on Monday Night Raw should lead to a Johnny Gargano interference that leads to possibly a triple threat for the Money in the Bank briefcase. Maybe Theory is coerced into putting that briefcase on the line, or maybe it's just a triple threat. I mean, who knows? But next week on Raw should really be telling of the matches that we're looking at for Extreme Rules, because we know the ones that are already locked in. We know those ones that are locked in. And do I say locked in? I mean, it's officially unofficial. Like Bayley versus, I was going to say Sasha Banks. Bayley versus Bianca Belair. I mean, that's probably going to happen. Part one of it, anyway, is going to happen at Extreme Rules. Roman Reigns is probably taking that pay-per-view off. But, Kevin Owens, big time impact, I think, coming, and a future WWE Undisputed Champion. No doubt about that. So, yeah, I think that pretty much does it. And we have one more thing that we want to talk about in terms of WWE, and it's going to be a fun topic. So stay right here. We're going to close things out with more Extreme Rules, but really looking ahead to WrestleMania 39. I really want to talk about WrestleMania 39 and a couple of other fun things, if I can speak today. So stay right here, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the final segment here of the WWE Slam. And again, thank you for joining me here. It's been a lot of fun joining the network. I'm so proud to be here. All the other content as well. I'd really encourage you to check out the on-demand content that we have here on the DuPont Network, because it allows you to watch anytime. You don't have to tune in at a specific time for a really, really small amount of money. You can check out every episode of this show and all of the other content creator shows under the DuPont On Demand section. So check that out as well. And let's talk about wrestling here for the last few minutes. As we look ahead to WrestleMania 39, now, of course, I've beaten to death Roman Reigns and the potential of The Rock and all of that. I've already expressed my opinions many times. So I don't think I would be of benefit for you to continue to talk about that. It's just a dead horse. That said, let's talk about the other things that could happen at WrestleMania. We've already talked about Dominic. We've already talked about Dominic and Rey Mysterio. I think that will eventually lead to that match. I think right now is the beginning seeds of that match happening all the way to WrestleMania 39 as we break down Rey Mysterio. But the other match I want to talk about is Seth Rollins. What does he do at WrestleMania? What does Seth Rollins do at WrestleMania? I think it's Cody Rhodes. And this is not exactly a revelation, but with Cody Rhodes nursing an injury, and he still has a few months to go for recovery, and of course Randy Orton, by the way, is also out there. Randy Orton, which we don't really talk about much, I think is scheduled to return maybe around the same time Cody Rhodes is. And he could certainly face Roman given what happened when he left. But I think right now the focus I want to talk about is Seth and Cody, because right now Cody Rhodes, 3 months out of the Royal Rumble, is the favorite to win the Rumble 3 months before it even happens. And with good reason. I mean, there's good reason to believe that Cody Rhodes could be the one to win the Rumble because, number one, he's a big star. He's a big babyface star. I'm not a big proponent or advocate of his babyface character in WWE because I think it's a pandering character. I think he isn't relatable. He comes out in these like very custom suits and slick back hair, his highlighted hair, and I think he uses big words more than he needs to. Not that I don't understand what he's saying, or we don't understand what he's saying, but I think he does it for self-serving purposes to try to elicit the illusion that he's well-read or something, that he's some kind of steward or wordsmith. So I'm not a big fan of that. I don't think he intentionally knows he's doing that. I think he tries to come across as intelligent by using bigger words than need to be used in his promos. And anyway, so my point is I'm not an advocate of his babyface character at all, really. I think he's going to be a much better heel, and I think that's also why the fans in AEW started to turn on Cody. But my point is, I think we could have Seth and Cody Part 4 at WrestleMania. Now, if Seth Rollins wins at Survivor Series, captures the WWE Undisputed Championship, Cody Rhodes then wins the Rumble, you have Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, WrestleMania 39 as the main event, and then you have Rock Roman as the semi-main event with no title on the line. And that serves two purposes. Number one, Rock Roman has no belt. That's a plus. And it also gets the belt off of Roman, and people are happy about that, and we can move on with our lives. But also, with Cody Rhodes, his mission statement, if you remember when he first came to WWE, was that he wanted to win the belt that his father never did. And he made that his mission statement, and he repeated it. And I think that's important to remember, because now if Seth Rollins captures the championship, not only does he have a long-standing feud with Seth, but you have him also competing for the belt and potentially winning the belt at WrestleMania, hitting two birds with one stone. So I think it's kind of a perfect setup. And do I think Cody Rhodes is going to win? I don't know, maybe. Seth barely, or rarely rather, gets a victory on a big stage, much less WrestleMania. Seth does not have a great track record, and I think it does hurt him. But if you're looking for a main event of WrestleMania that doesn't involve Roman Reigns and the championship, there you go. Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for joining me here on the WWE Slam. We're here every single Saturday at 8 o'clock. We also have a WWE podcast that we do, audio only, that's available everywhere the podcasts are available, and the $1 a month ad-free option. And there's more tiers at Patreon as well. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening and watching, and I will catch you next week. Hey, did you love what you saw on the WWE Slam? Well, there's a whole lot more where that came from. The WWE podcast is produced every single day. We cover Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, every single live event, and much more. So check us out. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, and Patreon, where you can go ad-free for just $1 a month. So check us out, guys. We also have a website, WWEpodcast.com. Don't miss an episode. Support the show, and thank you so much.